Welcome to the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of thevikingage.com. My name is Chris Schad. I am a writer for the Viking Age as well as Zone Coverage, Bring Me the News, and the Brookings Register. My co-host is Adam Patrick. He is the managing editor of the Viking Age. We do this every Monday and Thursday night right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. But however you watch us, whether you listen to us online, Spotify, podcast, whatever, another botched intro by me because I'm trying to look at the camera. But we're on Apple and Spotify the very next day. However you listen to us, rate, comment, like, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And on today's episode, we are going to go over the Minnesota Vikings preseason game against the Tennessee Titans. The Titans won 24-16. The Vikings have now lost 9 straight preseason games. And really, nobody cares because it's a glorified scrimmage at this point. Kevin O'Connell straight up said he's not playing anybody next Saturday against the Cardinals. Wes Phillips called plays in the second half. Mike Vrabel took the first preseason game off because this is football's version of Whose Line Is It Anyway, where the games are made up and the points do not matter. So are you ready to look at some storylines about this completely meaningless game, Adam?
Yeah, it beats, reading about a hurricane that never happened yesterday. So
Is this like the snowstorm in Minnesota when they're like, we're gonna get 25 inches of snow. It's gonna be like the Halloween blizzard. If you want to like scare the shit out of people in Minnesota, all you have to do is to mention the Halloween blizzard and be like, oh my God, it's gonna
if you got to
like
get
crazy.
rid of if you have extra paper products that you need to get rid of, just mention that snowstorm and then people will clear the shelves. Yeah. It rained. I'm in San Diego, so I was in the middle of Hurricane Hillary. But it was just either it passed by us or it was nothing because it was just a bunch of rain and some maybe like 30-mile-an-hour winds, and we were okay. I think a couple of leaves fell down, so that was the extent of the damage. But this preseason game, there's some, like, I was looking at it and I was trying to watch it where, like, I wasn't necessarily trying to, look at the overall picture, just more go like play to play. Like, did the Vikings win this play? Did they lose this play? And like going through it kind of like that way, they won a lot. They won a lot of plays. Like they came out on the positive side on a lot of their plays. I feel like that's got to be kind of a way that Kevin O'Connell and his staff is looking at these preseason games, because he obviously doesn't care if they win, which is fine because it's a preseason game, doesn't matter. And I feel like the point of it is just to get some of his young guys, some of his, lesser experiences guys reps, in-game reps, because, in practice, it's usually the first teamers and the second teamers that are getting most of the reps. So he's using these games as opportunities to give these guys, in-game reps and see what happens. Because sometimes we know, like, once the lights come on, guys can either, improve their play and step up to the plate and be better. And then some guys kind of cower, when the lights turn on and aren't the same guys that they were on the practice field. So the approach that Kevin O'Connell has used to these preseason games is definitely much different than it was with Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer, who went, I want to say, 20-8 in his preseason career with the Vikings. I know he won like 12 of his first 13 games.
And one sacrifice knee from Irv Smith Jr.
Right.
But go
and
on.
Starters played, and some of them got hurt. Was Teddy playing in the preseason? Did that contribute to his severe injury? We will never know. I'm not going to put that blame entirely on Mike Zimmer, so let's not do that. Never mind. But the approach is it's way different. I think it's more the approach that a lot of teams are doing now, where unless you're an old school coach like Andy Reid or Sean Payton, who are like, oh, we're going to play our starters. And then they lose guys to injuries, and they're like, well, I don't know. So I think Kevin O'Connell would rather have, the majority of his starters healthy for week 1 of the regular season than to win a meaningless preseason game.
Which is why guys like Lewis Cine playing into the third quarter is a bit of a concern for me. And I think that's a great place to start because if we look at Lewis Cine's game, we go, wow, what a great game. He was a team captain, first of all, against the Titans. That's pretty good. The locker room apparently went crazy when that happened. So good for him. 7 tackles and a sack. He had a nice stop early on third down, had a big stop on a Malik Willis scramble in the third quarter. And after the game, Kevin O'Connell said that Cine was quote unquote in a great spot. Cine did leave practice today after tweaking his groin, which
Careful with that word. Careful with that
yes,
word.
well, that was the word of Alec Lewis, who was not here when that happened. Like any other franchise, you can be like, oh yeah, he just tweaked it. He'll be all right. But like
Hey, what?
in Minnesota, because of that one time Mike Zimmer used it, everybody's antennas go up because Daniil Hunter wound up being out for the rest of the season.
I believe Judd Zolgad also tweeted out that it looked like he tweaked something too today, so he should know better.
There's alarms. There are alarm bells going off on Vikings Twitter, especially when it comes to me, because I want to ask you a simple question. Since Lewis Cine played in the third quarter, how are we feeling about Lewis Cine? And is he a major bust or what? Let's go all the way here and just let's ask some questions.
No, I'm going to go back to what I was just talking about, about getting guys reps, and I think him playing in the third quarter, one, I mean, I think safety-wise, I think they have 5 safeties on the roster, so it's not very deep. It's not like corners where you can play 4th or 5th string guys. They only have so many safeties, so they wanted to, they might have had to put him out there, and then just to get him reps because he missed basically all of last season with that leg injury, and then he was rehabbing it in the offseason, kind of being eased into all their OTAs and everything. And this was just another opportunity for him to get reps in another new defense. He learned a defense last year, and now he has to learn a completely new defense this year. So it's just an opportunity to do that. I don't believe he was a 4-year starter at Georgia. I meant to check it before we came on, but I don't believe he was. So that just tells me that like it might take him a little longer than some to come along. And I want to look back at some other rookies like Brian O'Neill. Was he good as a rookie? Not really. Were we happy with Dalvin Cook after his first 2 years when he tore his ACL and then he was injured for a second year? Like I think a lot of people were kind of iffy on him after 2 years. Xavier Rhodes, was he good in his first year? No way. A lot of players take a few years to like get up to speed in the NFL and kind of figure out their groove and everything. Not everyone is Justin Jefferson or Randy Moss, and sometimes I feel like we're a little spoiled with those two, and we expect almost everyone to be like right away. When for the most part, those guys are the minority, and guys like Lewis Cine are it's typical for players, of his age, and his experience level to kind of come along like this. Is it a little disappointing because he was a first round pick? Sure, you want him to come along faster, but am I done with him? Am I throwing him to the side? No, not even close. Because there could be a point in the season where Cam Bynum or Harrison Smith goes down, and they got to put Lewis Cine in. And I would hope by the middle of the season that he would have a pretty good grasp on the defense. So, we won't really know until then. But no, I'm not giving up on this kid yet. It's midway through, not even his second season. He hasn't even started yet. So let's give the kid at least probably another year before we cast him aside.
Well, I will preface this by saying that this is a multi-layered take that I have because I don't think Lewis Cine is a bust. Not yet. He could be a serviceable safety in the NFL, but I don't think his ceiling is that higher than that. And if that's the case, we have to question what the Vikings were doing by making this pick. Let's go back 15, 16 months. Let's go back to the 2022 NFL draft. The Vikings had the 12th overall pick in that draft. No quarterbacks available. That happens sometimes, right? Or at least no good quarterbacks. There's Malik Willis and there's Kenny Pickett as the top 2 names available. And I don't know. Desmond Ritter is not looking too good. The only guy worth a shit right now is Kenny Pickett and Sam Howell. Like, that's basically the two that have panned out.
And I don't even know about Howell because he played a week 18 game.
Yeah, he's basically like starter by default in Washington. Like, that's the thing. I was going to call him Marcus Mariota, but that's all right. Desmond Ritter is a starter by default in Atlanta, and Sam Howell is a starter by default
he beat Jacoby
Washington.
Brissett.
Yeah. Jacoby Brissett? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. As in Washington, that's who was competing.
That dude made so much money when Andrew Luck just abruptly retired.
Yeah.
And like, he was like, okay. And everyone's like, oh my God, like this guy's a quality backup. Like, it's funny how that works.
He was with the Patriots too. That's where he started, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think he made like, he started when Tom Brady got deflated by the footballs because the Colts got their ass kicked for like 300 yards on the ground, but they're like, the footballs.
Well, I think Garoppolo played and he got hurt. And then Brissett stepped in for like a game or two. Yeah, because he's been with the Patriots, Colts, Dolphins, Browns, and now the Commanders.
And that whole thing made him a good for him. Dream. The Vikings had the 12th overall pick in that draft, though. And they wound up trading with the Lions as part of the deal to get Cine. So they got the 32nd overall pick, the 34th overall pick, and the 66th overall pick. They used number 32 to take Cine, and we'll get back to that a second later. Pick number 34 in that trade was traded down again to let the Packers take Christian Watson. You got picks number 53 and 59. Number 53 was used in a trade up to get Andrew Booth Jr., who also played into the second half on Saturday. That's going well. And then number 59 was used to get Ed Ingram, who currently is looking over his shoulder because Dalton Reisner is hiding in the bushes at TCO Performance Center right now. Then they got Brian Asamoah, who is MIA right now.
He returned, I guess, today to
did
the walk-in or whatever.
So we've seen him for the first time in 3 weeks. Ivan Pace Jr. is getting the green dot. He's doing all those things. And part of that might be the reason that you mentioned earlier that, if Brian Asamoah goes down, Ivan Pace Jr. has to step into that role as the guy who's got the headset. So they have to prepare for that sort of thing. In essence, the Vikings got Lewis Cine, Andrew Booth Jr., Ed Ingram, and Brian Asamoah for Jameson Williams, who was having his own little bit of a development curve with the Lions. You could maybe say that they also gave up Christian Watson after looking at all those trades. Yeah. But I mean, it was basically Jameson Williams that spawned this whole deal. So if you look at that, that's pretty good because the Vikings got a lot of sweet spots in the draft, which they believe was the top 50. And this also helped the Vikings get a player that believed was comparable to Kyle Hamilton. And there was a tweet. I don't know who did it. So if you're watching and you're like, that's my tweet. Well, congratulations. Cause I thought it was Nick Edlund, who's also a Viking Age contributor, but I could not find it. But the tweet said, I can't tell whether Lewis Cine is a first round pick or UDFA. And I think that's the problem.
Might have been Arif.
Was that Arif Hassan?
It might have been him or even Luke Braun. Because I think I saw that too.
But I mean, that's the problem here. Because there are times where Lewis Cine puts himself in a position to make an awesome play. Like we saw it a couple of times. And then there are times where he gets there and he does not make the play. The missed tackle against Tyjae Spears on the 33-yard run, he basically lowered his head. Tyjae Spears jumped over him and he went to the house. Like that's an awful play for a safety. There were other plays against Seattle where he was in the same position, where he was there to make a play and he just didn't. And Dane Brugler in his draft guide, The Beast in 2022, said this phrase that stands out to me when I think of Lewis Cine's: natural football instincts. Kyle Hamilton has them, and he was taking 2 picks after Lewis Cine. Like, if you're going to take a safety, you might as well make damn sure he's going to be a future Pro Bowler, because that's not a great pick in the whole terms of value, right? Everybody talks about value, especially it's not just for running backs. It's not just Isaiah Pacheco, who, he knows he's not going to get paid as a running back. So now he's doing MMA fights I saw this weekend. Isaiah Pacheco, look at
that wasn't the same guy, right?
It had to have been.
No,
Who else would have the name Pacheco?
it's not. It's not
There is only one Pacheco.
only
And if
one
there
person.
is, they should fight like Highlanders until they figure out which one is the ultimate Pacheco.
Just him and his
But
dad, the only Pachecos.
okay, there's probably a father figure there somewhere. But I mean, come on, man. Like
Yeah,
Kyle Hamilton has these football instincts. The problem is Lewis Cine does not. Cameron Bynum has them. He's nowhere near the athlete that Lewis Cine is. Same with Josh Metellus. Neither of those guys are the freak athlete that Cine is, but like Cine just can't do it. So is this a thing of just getting reps in the preseason? I mean, the Vikings are doing the right thing by just getting him out on the field. But to me, this whole trade down, get value, take multiple cracks at the pinata like a coked up 6-year-old. Like, actually, that's probably a bad reference. Like 6-year-old on Mountain Dew. But you know what I mean? He was drinking Coke, like Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Yes, Coca-Cola. I'm not advocating drug use for 6-year-olds. It wasn't worth passing Kyle Hamilton, who's going to get a starting role with the Ravens, or Jordan Davis, which big, huge shit wrecker in the middle, and the Vikings haven't had since Linval Joseph was in the lineup. Like, it annoys me. It annoys me because, you know, Cine's not going to be a Pro Bowl player. Sorry. Like, he's just not. And if that's the case, you could go get that guy in the 4th or 5th round.
Mm-hmm.
Values not just for running backs. So there you go.
Yeah.
There's my take.
I would put safety in that category of like, you can wait until the later rounds to get a starting caliber one, like with a running back, like with a tight end, like a linebacker. You can wait with those things. So the pick was always a bit of a surprise when they went safety last year, but I think in their mind before last season, I feel like they were getting ready to build or at least get ready to move on from Harrison Smith, and I think getting Cine in there, and they're maybe hoping that he could just maybe sit for a year and learn behind Harrison Smith, and then maybe come in this year or I guess next year now, and replace him. So that's I think part of the thing about that. And as much and as good as Kyle Hamilton was last year, we've seen a lot of players in the past be really good in their first year, and then just be okay after that. So like you think of like maybe Sheldon Richardson, who was like defensive rookie of the year his first year with the Jets, just wrecked everything. And then after that, he made a lot of money, but like was he an all pro? No. I'm trying to think some other guys because I had him in my head, and now of course I can't remember. Maybe Jamal Adams that comes to mind too, another Jet, I guess, who was like awesome in his first year, and then he's with the Seahawks now, and he's okay.
But I don't think Lewis Cine is ever going to be a starting safety.
Oh yeah, that's
like
fine.
that makes this even worse. Right. Like that's the problem here.
Right.
So I mean, if you want to define that as a major bust, you could. But I mean, if you want to define, I don't think Cine's a completely worthless football player. I just think that there's a work in progress. And really, for what the Vikings were, like sometimes it's just like, instead of overthinking things, just take the player that's good at football. Like Kyle Hamilton was a top 5 safety when that started because he had that one play where he was with Notre Dame and he went from one side of the field to the other on the pass and made an interception against Florida State. Like,
does it remind you at all of Trey Wayne's? How because it took a while for Trey Wayne. I think he wasn't a full-time starter until year 3.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And even during that year, he was okay. He was kind of just okay during his whole Vikings career, but he was a first-round pick, and he was like, what, pick 13? Like, he was up there.
And that's another player that was a great athlete. He was always in position to make plays. He just didn't make enough of them, and that's why the Vikings ultimately moved on.
You talk about drafting safeties later on. I'm trying to look up the 49ers player. Who's the safety they got? Was it either this year?
Jaquiski Tart or
no,
Jimmy Ward?
Year. The dude from USC.
Taylor Mays?
Oh, I'm going to mess this up right now. Talanoa Hufanga.
Okay.
He's been in the league for 2 years. He's already made an all-pro team, a Pro Bowl, and he's played in 32 games. And he was drafted in the 5th round. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those positions where I think I heard Judd Zolgad on, it might have been Purple Daily or whatever, one of their 30 other podcasts that they have now, that if you're going to draft a safety in the first round, it's a position that you need to make sure that they're going to come in and make an impact immediately. That's not a position that you use a first round pick on. You're like, oh, okay, we're going to wait 2 years and see if this works out. No, first round picks are mainly for quarterbacks. Are really the only ones now where you can be like, okay, we're going to wait a year or two and at the most and try and develop this guy if it's a first round pick. But otherwise, most first round picks, if you're not making an impact by like your second year in the league, it's going to be tough for you to kind of have a long career in the NFL, I feel like.
Well, somebody who
So
has wound up having a longer career than maybe we should have is Oli Udoh, who is the other standout from Saturday's game for all the wrong reasons.
yeah,
Vikings offensive lineman as a whole didn't do too great. They allowed a 36% pressure rate on Saturday. The ground game averaged 3.6 yards per carry. The Titans had the number one rushing defense last year. So, I mean, there's part of it. And plus, Tyre Tart played because he threw a punch after Garrett Bradbury. And oddly enough, Bradbury went flying back 20 yards because of the punch. But I mean, there's no video to prove that.
no video.
I'm just kidding. So Tyre Tart looked like Aaron Donald for the first 2 quarters of the game. But Oli Udoh allowed 2 sacks on the evening, had 2 penalties. Both were declined on the same drive that led to a Greg Joseph field goal. And this is your backup to Brian O'Neill, who is coming off a partially torn Achilles, and Christian Darrisaw, who suffered multiple concussions last year. So with Oli Udoh doing Oli Udoh things, how worried are you about the offensive line?
I mean, if you're a Vikings fan, you're always worried about the offensive line. I can't remember the last time I wasn't. Maybe 2009.
Even like 2012 was the last time they had all 5 starters back, and like that group, you still didn't feel like Charlie Johnson.
But they had Matt Khalil that year too, and he was a rookie.
Yeah, and he
and
was awesome his rookie year. I think he made the Pro Bowl.
But he did.
then his knee gave out, and he's just stopped giving a fuck.
But it's been, is there like, there's only like 3 teams in the league whose fan base like doesn't worry about their offensive line. It's like the Eagles,
the Niners
maybe, yeah. And it used to be the Colts. I don't know if that's the case anymore. But like pretty much every team in the league worries about their offensive line. So it's not like it's unique to the Vikings, but still, like, yeah, you to know that you're one, tweak away from Oli Udoh going out there and just valeting a defensive end to Kirk Cousins' ribs is a little frightening. I really wasn't sure why they re-signed him in the first place this offseason because he was a free agent. I don't think anyone was ever impressed with Oli Udoh. Maybe they liked his size, I guess, because he switched back to tackle last year, and because remember they switched him to guard because you can just do that right before the season, and then he was terrible. Surprisingly,
they tried the Madden thing basically.
Yeah,
There's
didn't work.
like, oh yeah, he's still a 74 at guard. Let's try it.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he got cut. They only signed him to a 1-year deal. He's a backup. If you're doing that against second and third stringers, like he was literally falling on his face in the game against the Titans. And if you're like you've been in the league for what, 5 years? You should not be falling down trying to block guys in the NFL. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got cut. Yeah, I'd be worried if he was out there. Let's see what his. They cut him before. They cut him. Oh, they lose money if they cut him. Ooh, that's not good.
Maybe he will make the team then.
They lose 1.4 million. So not a lot. They can afford it. But it would just kind of be like, yeah. But are there other players really that you would trust? Because like has who's the other guy? Vidarian Lowe. Has he really been that much better? Like, I feel like the whole backup offensive line has just been terrible.
Like if anybody
So
goes in, I feel like they're screwed.
yeah.
Like that's kind of it. And I mean, I know obviously by the time like Darren Hall got in there on Saturday, he had a 50% pressure rate on his dropbacks in the second half. Just kind of like, okay, third string offensive line can't really do. I mean, there were other instances. I know the Vikings wanted to get Jalen Reagor deep a couple of times and take some deep shots down the field, and they didn't develop because the offensive line, in part, just wasn't able to hold off the Titans long enough to do that. And again, the Titans are a really good defensive front. So, I mean, maybe, and I mean, Seattle's always had a good defensive front too. So, I mean, they're going to do, I mean, that's the Titans way. It's like Mike Vrabel sitting there with a butter knife, like threatening to harm himself, to win a Super Bowl. But, I don't know. He okay. I guess I could
makes
just
it way worse.
Yeah, I know. Well, he seems like that would be like tougher. Like, not only am I gonna chop my dick off to win a Super Bowl, I'm gonna do it with a butter knife. Yeah,
on live
run the ball again
on PMT.
On PMT. Pardon my take.
Or live on Bussin' with the Boys.
He also had that guy taking a dump during the draft, and then he's like, "No, my kid wasn't taking a dump." Like, wait, why would you think that? He was only sitting on the toilet texting.
He's a good coach, though.
He is.
He's like Dan Campbell light.
I think it reminds me of the Vikings. Really, what's going on in Tennessee? Like, end of Mike Zimmer era. Maybe not as contentious.
I think he's more of a player's coach than Mike Zimmer was.
I think so too. Yeah. Like more like we've seen clips of like Mike Vrabel joking with his players before. Mike Zimmer was like, "Why are you laughing? Like this is
he's
not acceptable."
Vrabel's hard on guys, but he was a player not too long ago, so he knows like don't be like that big of a jackass if you want to like keep your locker room.
Right.
So
yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
what do you think, Oli Udoh? Get him out of here, or
who are they going to get? Like I hate that argument. It's like, well, what are they going to get? I mean, you got to look, but I mean, the best option is probably to like get somebody who gets cut, and then it's like, well,
other than Chris Reed, like they don't have a lot of veterans in terms of depth for their offensive line. It's a lot of young guys.
I don't think Chris Reed's making the team.
No, has he played at all?
He's been on the NFI list.
Yeah, what happened? What did he do?
It's mysterious injury number 7,586 during this training camp.
But yeah, like you think, I don't know, have like not that he's great, but like a Pat Elflein, he's got experience, or like Mike Remmers, like these are the guys you'd rather have as depth than that's what
I thought you were suggesting bringing them back, and I'm
longing. No. I'm longing for Pat Elflein to come back
to be our backup.
Well,
Matt Khalil's available too if you want to go down that path.
Even someone to the caliber of like a Rashad Hill, like he wasn't a starter, but you could have him come in for a half or maybe a game if you needed to, and he would do okay. I don't know if you can do that with Oli Udoh or anyone else behind the starters on the offensive line, because they're not staying healthy all year. Let's be honest. Like, it would be amazing if the whole offensive line was able to stay healthy for the entire year. It's a 17-game season plus the playoffs if they make it. Like, it's just probably not going to happen. So yeah, it's pretty worrisome when you think about it.
Well, the other observations from Saturday's game, and part of it might have been just from the offensive line. These are mine. And then if you have anything else to add, we can go over that too. The running back position. I mean, I'm already nervous about Alexander Madison as is, but the backup running backs, part of it was the offensive line. Part of it was the Tennessee defense, but they didn't do much. And I don't think Ty Chandler wrapped up that job in the backfield behind Alexander Madison this week. 11 carries for 24 yards against Tennessee. Everybody was pretty excited after his game against Seattle, but he still only had 41 yards on 11 carries there. Kene Nwangwu, I mean, sure,
Where are
a
you?
lot of people are saying, yeah, A, where are you? And B, you
Tom
haven't
DeLonge.
carried the ball since high school.
Quote Tom DeLonge, where are you?
Kene Nwangwu is basically the Sean Mannion of running backs. Because when he was at Iowa State, he was behind David Montgomery and Breece Hall. Then he gets the NFL. Awesome kick returner, but sits behind Dalvin Cook, sits behind Alexander Madison, and he's like the bridesmaid of the NFL.
I will say this. The Titans' run defense last year, best in the NFL.
Yeah, 3.4 yards per carry.
The Seahawks' run defense last year, 30th in the NFL. So the
answer is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, that's probably why there was a bit of a discrepancy in the last 2 weeks. But yeah, it just like the offensive line, it's worrisome. Like you're one injury away from either Ty Chandler, or Dwayne McBride, or
Dwayne McBride's not making this team.
No, he's practice squad.
Yeah, because not everybody can be Isaiah Pacheco.
But I don't think Kene Nwangwu was going to make it either. I don't. I think they're going to keep. I think they're going to keep Brandon Powell and Jalen Reagor, and make one of those two your kick returner, because they can at least provide you value as a receiver too. And we haven't seen anything from Kene Nwangwu to say that he can provide it. Or maybe they start Nwangwu on what, the PUP list? Does he have to be out 6 weeks?
Yeah,
for that. So they could do possible. That too. But then that leaves you with what? Madison, Chandler, and then you maybe you do keep McBride on the active roster. McBride looked a little better on Saturday. I felt like he looked definitely way better than the first game. He scored a touchdown. I think he caught a nice little pass too. But yeah, and Dykes, he looked good, but he's going to be cut. So
cool story, but he's
just like the Vikings signed what, Jordan Ta'amu today officially, and people are like, "Oh, what does this mean about Jaren Hall?" And I'm like, it means he's going to play a lot on Saturday, and they need a backup.
Jaren Hall might get cut too,
because they don't want Nick Mullins to get hurt, and then Jaren Hall's a backup. So that's why. But yeah, you didn't think Jaren Hall looked.
No, I didn't, because he's
not he looked good. I mean,
he was. Yeah, well, it was a low bar from Seattle because he didn't look very good against Seattle either. He's got a noodle of an arm. He's 25 years old, which I mean, if you're gonna take a guy in the 5th round at 25 years old, it's kind of like you're basically just waving the white flag. I mean, maybe he could be a backup. Like that's what we're hoping for here.
Who would you go with as a starter? Like if you had to pick one next year, would you go with Jaren Hall or Malik Willis?
Willis. There's more upside with Willis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, what's DTR doing in Seattle? Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Vikings looked at him.
Yeah, you know that guy that we always talk about that is in trade rumors every week, Trey Lance. He looked pretty good this weekend.
Yeah.
He looked pretty good.
Can I come out of the closet now, Kyle? No.
Yeah. Not if you ask, like, oh man, Kyle Shanahan, it seems like he had either he had very little input on drafting him, or he wanted who's the other guy that he wanted?
Mac Jones.
Yeah, he really wanted Mac Jones. And Mac Jones is starting now, and he's like, could have had him. I'm stuck with Trey Lance. Because every time he talks about Trey Lance, he's like, yeah, he did better, but still has a lot to work on. And he talked about Brock Purdy.
About Kirk?
He talked about Brock Purdy, and he was like, I don't think he missed a throw. I'm like, what? What's going on?
Trey Lance is probably like, get me the hell out of here. Like, like I need to go.
Kevin O'Connell, like, not that Shanahan is like this big mean coach or whatever, but like just his attitude, like I feel like is night and day compared to Kevin O'Connell. Like Kevin O'Connell would be like, "What's up, Trey? Like, how you doing?" And Shanahan's like, "The fuck out of my face."
Here's some rice and some maggots. Like, why don't you eat that?
Might be the fact that O'Connell's from San Diego and pretty relaxed down here. So.
Like, if you get in Kyle Shanahan's doghouse, you're not getting out. Like,
No.
I mean, it might take you an off season, like Brandon Ayuk that one year.
They had
like,
Garoppolo practicing on a separate field last year because he didn't want anything to do with him.
We don't want you. And then Trey Lance breaks his leg, and it's like, I don't want to play with you anymore. Like Andy from Toy Story. Here's another one then. Najee Thompson's a special team savant.
Yeah.
He went viral against the Seahawks, made an excellent tackle against the Titans on the first punt of the game.
A concussion.
Yeah, he went too hard. So he's in concussion protocol, but I think he makes the team. What do you think?
Yeah, I do too. I think I saw someone tweeted, he's Dan Chisena, but he can tackle.
The ultimate weapon, Dan Chisena.
And I did find that tweet that you were talking about Lewis Cine is from One Bar, Matt Falk, who is actually
okay.
Nick Edlund's podcast. Well, I guess, is it a podcast? His YouTube show partner, One Bar in Lapagos. And he said, if I didn't know, I wouldn't be able to tell if Cine was a first round pick or a UDFA. So that's where you saw it. But yeah, I think Najee Thompson makes it. I didn't know that he was actually like pretty much an exclusive special teamer in college too. I figured like he was like he got more play as a defensive back as a senior, but most of the time during his college career at Georgia Southern, I believe he was like the special teams guy there too. So that's a sneaky good pickup by the Vikings because those guys are more valuable than you think, and I think he makes it look a lot easier than it actually is because I think there's a bunch of guys actually after he went out that got to the punt returner like maybe just as fast as him, but then totally whiffed or overran the punt returner. Where he just is able to figure it out and slow his body down and get the tackle. So yeah, I think he makes it for sure.
Greg Joseph made all of his kicks.
Yay! When they don't matter.
Yeah. 3 shanks in the first week. We'll revisit this discussion.
Hey, the Packers are having some kicking problems.
Yeah,
the other Carlson over there. So
maybe they need to call his high school coach or something.
Call Zimmer. Bring Zimmer in there.
Oh no! Special teams consultant Mike Zimmer. Is this like? You got any advice? Pulls out a shotgun.
Well, when did they got rid of the kicker too? The other kicker last week, right? Right before you recorded.
Yeah, Jack Podlesny. Yes.
Yeah, from Georgia.
Yes.
Yeah, because it was weird because Matt Daniels was the special teams coach. Was like, yeah, he's gonna kick this weekend. We'll give him a shot, and then they're like, oh yeah, you're cut. It's like,
just like the punt off from last year. They were gonna do that.
Right. Oh man, he's having a great summer.
That was an elite pickup by the Vikings.
Yeah.
Last year. I mean, he might be one of the best punters in the league. Not that I could name NFL punters right now, but
there's no Tom Tupas out there anymore.
Yeah. You got anything else from this game or anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I think you mentioned a bunch of guys returned from injury today. I think Jordan Addison was back on the field today.
Mm-hmm.
Asamoah. Is it Asamoah or did they figure out yet if it's Asamoah?
I think they said it's Asamoah until further notice. So until I hear something different, I'm going to go with it.
Who else returned? Somebody else did. Oh, Hawkinson was out there, but then does he have the longest ear infection? Like, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I really, really do.
It only hurts when he hears time for team drills. I can only hear contract negotiations now.
But I have like firsthand experience with ear infections, like right outside my door, and they don't last this long. Like,
no,
you're gonna
especially when he's going out and playing golf. Apparently, like he's
gonna have to go like I expected him to be back this week. Like it's been over 2 weeks now, right?
Right.
The antibiotics should have kicked in by now.
It just
I
don't know. It's just like, get a deal done. Like if that's what this is, like just do it. Like, I don't know. It's like numbers and timelines and financial flexibility. Like, as long as he's not asking for like a Justin Jefferson contract, I don't know what the hell's going on here. And I mean, if you sit here next year and you go, well, we gave him a second round pick and now he's somewhere else. What the hell are you doing again?
Did I send you those coaching rankings? I think I
Yeah.
sent you those.
Yeah. You want to discuss those quick?
Where was I think I want to say
the Vikings were 21st, I believe.
I think it was the Action Network. The guy who made him was actually a Vikings fan. But they ranked the Falcons coaching staff ahead of the Vikings. They ranked definitely the Lions.
Yep. So the Vikings were 21st. The Arizona Cardinals had the worst staff in the league. Pew, pew, pew. The Chiefs had the number 1 staff in the league. Teams with a better notable teams anyway. The Patriots were 2, Rams were 3. And the Baltimore Ravens were 4, which I don't know. I think John Harbaugh is overrated to me because he's so bold. He goes for it on 4th down. No, it's because Lamar Jackson's going to kill him in the parking lot if he doesn't. All right, time to get the punt. You're not taking it.
And I mean, if Lamar Jackson, you would go for it. If you had Lamar Jackson, you would go for it on 4th down too. The Eagles aren't in the top 4.
The Eagles are. Where are the Eagles? They're 7th.
What?
So okay, I might as well just read them. Chiefs are 1, Patriots are 2, Rams are 3, Ravens are 4, 49ers are 5, Miami Dolphins are 6. That's like the entire McVay coaching tree there.
That's the podcast that just came out. Is all top 6.
Yeah. The Philadelphia Eagles are 7th. The Giants are 8th.
The Giants.
Bills. Brian Dable. Look what he did with Daniel Jones when he played at Donatel. Buffalo Bills are 9, Chargers 10, Panthers 11. Yeah. Hey, this is a fun list. Panthers 11, Steelers 12, which I think that's low because Mike Tomlin. Yeah. Seattle Seahawks 13, Dallas Cowboys 14, Jacksonville Jaguars 15, Denver Broncos 16, Bengals 17. Well, Sean Payton now, so maybe that's a little bit better. Bengals, Falcons, Lions, Colts, Vikings. And then it goes Texans, Titans, Browns, Commanders, Jets, Packers are 27th.
So the Colts, who have a first-year head coach, have a better coaching staff than the guy who just won 13 games in his first year, who just hired Brian Flores as a defensive coordinator.
People love those Frank Reich disciples, man. I don't know if he actually was a Frank
and then
Reich,
what? The Chargers.
Yeah.
Were they 10, you said?
They were 10th. Yeah.
Who?
Charging.
That list is I know it's based on I think it's based on like entire coaching staffs.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chargers, they just hired Kellen Moore. So maybe that's why. But that shouldn't be enough. Like the head coach has a lot more impact on the team, I feel like, than the offensive coordinator. And the Cowboys, their coaching staff was Dan Quinn, I guess. Okay. All right. Not the Panthers though. Like Frank Reich just got fired. Frank Reich just got fired.
Well, and I don't think he was that great of a coach in Indianapolis. It was just kind of like, I'm going to bring in Phillip Rivers and I'm going to bring in Carson Wentz and he's going to save the day.
Was he given the best of circumstances? Because I feel like his owner was pulling the strings.
He pushed for Wentz, didn't he?
Okay. All right. Yeah. Then yeah.
I think so. I could be wrong there. But
and then you have who else? There's some team ahead of the Bengals. Like you have all these teams ahead of the Bengals.
Broncos, Jaguars, Cowboys, Seahawks, Steelers, Panthers. Those are
half of those teams aren't better than the Bengals. Like do they think the Bengals' success is mostly because of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase? I mean, you could say that, but they have a really good defense too. This is just a silly list. I don't even know who wrote it, but I don't want to put them out there to give them ridicule. we just read it, and then you can go find it if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, just more bulletin board material. Just like, Ryan Clark's got his picture on Justin Jefferson's fridge now on the dartboard.
Justin Jefferson just drinking a glass of milk, staring into Ryan Clark's soul, just on the front of his fridge. Just like, damn you.
George Pickens, more talented, huh? Yeah, okay. I'm good.
So I did think Clark had a point when he goes, they didn't develop him at Georgia. They had 5 stars everywhere. And then I thought of Lewis Cine, and I was like, yeah, sounds about right.
They also
Greatest college defense of all time.
They ran the ball. So it's not really like a passing school. Like if he went to LSU, maybe then he'd be thought of differently. But Georgia's not a passing school. I feel like they're known for their running backs.
Has there been like a Georgia superstar that's come out of that defense yet?
Oh, the defense?
Or even like offense. Like maybe, Andrew Thomas is a great offensive tackle, but wide receivers
out of that regime, like the current coach.
Like DeAndre Swift is good, just not great.
Yeah.
Kirby Smart was there when Todd Gurley was there though too, so I should probably shut up.
Okay. Here, he's been there that long?
Let's see. Kirby Smart was hired.
I know he was there after Matthew Stafford. Obviously.
Kirby Smart hired at the program in 2015. So yeah, that was way before, that was after Gurley graduated. So I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. Everybody still watching the podcast is like, yes, you are. Yes, you are. On that note, what do we got going on at the Viking Age right now, Adam?
Well, let's see. It's the final week before the final preseason game on Saturday against the Cardinals in their awesome new uniforms. I think that kicks off at noon Central, in US Bank Stadium on Saturday. So we're going to see we'll get to see a lot of Jaren Hall, maybe some of the new quarterback they just signed. But yeah, we'll be doing like probably some final 53-man predictions. And then cut day is the 29th? I want to say that's next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like teams are going to kind of slowly get rid of guys over those couple days after the game. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then we're going to get ready for the season. Well, we'll probably have some predictions for the season. And then before we know it, Vikings will be kicking off in their classic jerseys against the Bucks on September 10th.
My friend actually bought, speaking of these, my friend actually bought the authentic classic jersey, and $350, and the sleeves are painted on. Interesting move.
Do they come with the patch at least?
They don't.
You pay that much
because my friend looked for the patch too, and they're not selling them. So
you could probably make one.
Probably make a Bud patch.
But if you're paying that much, you think you could get a patch?
Just put Bud's face on the front of the jersey. That'll work. That's all the time we have for the Viking Age podcast today, though. We do this every Monday and Thursday right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. And if you ever miss us, we're in podcast form the very next day on Apple and Spotify. But however you consume us, rate, comment, like, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode. For Adam Patrick, I am Chris Schad, and we'll see you next time on the Viking Age podcast.